Attention all viewers, shocking news has just come in. Students from a renowned international school in South Korea were originally planning a trip to India, but due to a sudden technical malfunction on their aircraft, they had to make an emergency landing at Islamabad International Airport. However, from the moment these students set foot on Pakistani soil, an unbelievable story began. We had planned for an adventure in India, but the result in Pakistan exceeded all our expectations. It made us realize how naive we were, says Park Jin-woo, the 18-year-old student council president, and his 24 classmates from South Korea. Their worldview was completely transformed in just a few days. What did they see in Pakistan that made these students abandon their plans to travel to India and want to stay in Pakistan for as long as possible? The story of an unexpected experience in Pakistan from students of a famous South Korean school. Listen now. Hello, my name is Park Jin-woo. I am an 18-year-old high school senior and the student council president at the Seoul Global Academy, an international school in Seoul, South Korea. Our school is a leading private educational institution in South Korea, known for its annual overseas trips. Last year we were in Europe, 2 years ago in Canada, and this year our destination was India. Our original plan was a week-long journey through Delhi and Mumbai. Honestly, I was very excited about the trip. Talking with my friends, we were all looking forward to the vibrant culture, the historical monuments like the Taj Mahal, and the bustling city life. We knew almost nothing about Pakistan, only what we occasionally saw in the news, which was often not positive and usually related to its political tensions with India. On the morning of our departure, I met my friends at Incheon International Airport. Everyone was very excited. Our group consisted of 25 students and 3 accompanying teachers. After boarding the plane, we were still discussing what we would see and eat in India. But during the long flight, after a layover in Dubai for our connecting flight, the unexpected happened. The captain announced a technical malfunction that required a landing at the nearest major airport. The flight attendants asked us to fasten our seatbelts again. The atmosphere in the cabin instantly became tense. Looking out the window, I saw the lights of a city at night, but they didn't look like the lights I expected. The captain announced again that we were landing at Islamabad International Airport. At that moment, I didn't even know where Islamabad was. Sumin, my friend sitting next to me, found the information on her smartphone and said it was the capital of Pakistan. Until we landed, I still thought we would just stop for an engine check and then continue on to India. I thought we'd spend one night in Pakistan and continue our journey. But from the moment I stepped off the plane, I began to realize how wrong I was. The first thing that struck me at Islamabad International Airport was its scale. It was much larger than I could have imagined. Compared to the airports I was used to, it was incredibly spacious and modern. But it wasn't just the size. The airport floor was polished to a mirror shine, and everything was organized with perfect order. Even more impressive was the reaction of the airport staff. When they learned we were students from South Korea, one of the staff members tried to explain the way to us, using a translation app on his phone, even attempting a few words in Korean. Although his Korean was imperfect, you could feel his sincere desire to help us. Despite the emergency situation, no one showed any haste or irritation. They patiently and calmly explained all the details to us. Going through passport control was also a pleasant experience. The officers understood our situation and, in simple English, reassured us, telling us not to rush. In my own country, which is known for its efficiency, I had rarely seen such friendly and patient public servants. On the way to baggage claim, I had a chance to look around the airport, and I truly felt how well organized everything was. The signs were in multiple languages and very clear. All the facilities were working perfectly. But the most impressive thing was the behavior of the people. Despite hundreds of passengers bustling about, no one was shouting or pushing. Everyone maintained order and waited patiently. Such a scene is common back home, but to find it here, in a place we had preconceived notions about, was the first of many surprises. That night, we went into Islamabad and stayed in a temporary hotel provided for us in the blue area. I had no idea what would happen in the next few days. I never thought that in Pakistan, which I had considered just a transit point. An experience that would change my outlook on life awaited me. The next morning, the sense of shock I felt when I stepped out of the hotel and saw the streets of Islamabad for the first time is still vivid in my memory. We decided to take the metro bus from a nearby station to explore the city. But from the moment I entered the station, it was like a different world compared to what I had imagined. On the platform, the first thing that caught my eye was the behavior of the people. Despite it being a busy time with a large number of people, everyone stood in neat lines at the carriage doors. When the bus arrived, everyone waited for people to get off before calmly boarding. It was an orderliness that was deeply impressive. Even more striking was the atmosphere inside the bus itself. Despite being crowded, it was quiet inside. No one was talking loudly on their phone or eating. Everyone was looking at their smartphones or reading books, minding their own business. Seeing this, I understood for the first time what civic consciousness on this level looked like. The metro bus itself was also impressive. The floor and walls were clean. The light was bright. There was no feeling of being in a crowded, chaotic public transport system. I tried using the restroom at the station, and it was so clean it was hard to believe it was a public toilet. There was not only toilet paper and soap, but even hand lotion available. When we got off in the city center, near the Faisal Mosque, my friends and I were speechless. Despite being a place through which countless crowds of people passed, there wasn't a speck of litter on the ground. Sumin even started to cry right there. When I asked her why, she said she was shocked not only by the cleanliness, but also deeply moved that everyone around was making an effort to maintain this cleanliness. The shops were also impressive. In every store, the products were neatly arranged, and the prices were clearly displayed. The staff, seeing that we were foreigners, greeted us warmly. Even if we couldn't understand each other, they tried to communicate with gestures and smiles, for which we were very grateful. That day, an incident occurred where we got lost because we couldn't understand the Urdu script and couldn't read the signs. The map on our smartphone also couldn't pinpoint our exact location. We were wandering in the same spot for over an hour. It was then that a Pakistani student, noticing our confusion, approached us. His name was Ali Hassan. He asked in English if we needed help. We explained the situation to him, and he opened a translation app on his phone to communicate. He didn't just show us the way, but upon learning we were from South Korea, he recommended a delicious Pakistani cuisine restaurant nearby. He spent his own time helping complete strangers without showing the slightest bit of annoyance. After parting with Ali, we went to the restaurant he recommended and were once again pleasantly surprised. When ordering our food, the owner of the restaurant, learning that we were foreigners, slowly explained the menu to us and even asked what level of spice we preferred so he could prepare the dishes to our liking. Leaving the restaurant and walking through the streets in the center of Islamabad, I discovered another side of Pakistani society. The streets were very clean, not only because they were well maintained, but because people had the habit of not littering. I saw people who, after eating something on the go, would hold the empty wrapper in their hand until they found a trash bin. That evening, returning to the hotel, I stopped by a 24-hour convenience store. Here, I felt the biggest cultural shock. Although it was already past 10 p.m., a young woman, who looked to be in her 22nd, was working alone. What was even more surprising was that, at this time, other young women were calmly entering the store as customers. In many parts of the world, it would be considered unsafe for a woman to be out alone at night. But here, everything was completely different. The store employee, seeing us, greeted us friendly. When I mentioned I was from South Korea, she showed interest and tried to start a conversation in simple English. On the way to the hotel, I looked around. Despite the late hour, the streets were brightly lit. Streetlights were installed at regular intervals, leaving virtually no dark corners. Even at this hour, I saw people jogging, couples strolling, and groups of teenagers walking and chatting. Everyone had a relaxed and natural expression on their faces. The next day, we had the opportunity to visit one of Islamabad's model colleges. It was a public school. Starting with the facilities, the school was already impressive. Each classroom had modern digital equipment. The library and science labs were systematically organized. But what struck me most was the school lunch system. Despite more than 1,000 students having lunch at the same time, everything proceeded in a very organized manner. Each class had its own turn, and all the students naturally followed this order. While waiting in line, no one pushed or cut in front. The quality of the lunch was also astonishing. A balanced menu designed by a nutritionist, and it was delicious. And the fact that such a lunch was provided to students for a very subsidized price was simply shocking. In South Korea, even few private schools can offer lunches of this quality. After the meal, the sight of students clearing their own trays and sorting the waste was very impressive. No one ordered them to, but everyone did it as if it were a matter of course. Plastic and general waste were thrown into different bins. Seeing this, I realized how high the environmental consciousness was here. In the afternoon, it was cleaning time, and we were told that at this school, students clean their own classrooms and school grounds. At first, I could hardly believe it, but then I saw it with my own eyes. All the students divided the responsibilities and diligently cleaned. They mopped the classroom floor, wiped the blackboard, cleaned the windows, and took out the trash. All this work was done by the students themselves. Seeing this, I felt the special character of this type of Pakistani education. It not only imparts knowledge, but also fosters a sense of community and responsibility. In South Korea, cleaning the school is the janitor's job, but here, they considered it normal to maintain the cleanliness of the place they used themselves. That evening, I had the chance to meet Ali again. We arranged to meet at a 24-hour cafe and talked about the cultural differences between Pakistan and South Korea. I learned many new things. Ali said that he grew up seeing order and empathy for others as the norm, not because someone ordered him to do it, but because he believed it was the right thing to do. The rules that had initially seemed restrictive to me were actually the wisdom that allows everyone to live together comfortably. I began to understand this. A small inconvenience for each person leads to great convenience for society as a whole. That was the concept. Through my conversation with Ali, I gained a new perspective on individualism and collectivism. In South Korea, there is a strong culture that places great importance on personal freedom and success. But in Pakistan, personal freedom and social responsibility are balanced. This is the image of a developed society, I thought. Living in Pakistan for a few days, I discovered more and more. On public transport, young people gave up their seats to the elderly and women. On the street, people naturally helped a person in a wheelchair. Kind people showed us, foreigners, the way. All this was not a coincidence but a culture deeply rooted in Pakistani society. On the fourth day, I had the opportunity to experience Pakistan's digital technology firsthand. Ali took me to various places to show how Pakistanis use technology in their daily lives. At first, I just thought it was a technologically developing country, but when I experienced it myself, I realized it was something more. Starting with ordering chai at a cafe in the morning, it was already striking. Ali used an app on his smartphone to order our chai in advance. When we arrived at the cafe, it was ready. There was no need to wait in line and pay. The existence of such a system is impressive in itself. But what's more surprising is that an ordinary student uses this technology so naturally. Entering the metro bus was the same. Ali used his smartphone instead of a travel card, tapping it on the reader to pay. There was free Wi-Fi on the bus. On the subway in Seoul, the internet signal is often poor, but here, the connection was fast. Lunch was another interesting experience. Ali scanned a QR code at the entrance of the restaurant to join an electronic queue, and we went for a walk nearby. When a notification came that our turn was up, we returned to the restaurant. There was no need to stand and wait. We could use our time efficiently. When ordering food at the restaurant, we used a tablet on the table. The menu was digital, allowing us to see photos and detailed descriptions. Moreover, there was an English menu. From ordering food to payment, everything could be done at the table. It was really very convenient. But amidst all this digital technology, human warmth had not disappeared. And that was the most impressive part. The barista at the cafe greeted us warmly. The waiter at the restaurant was very attentive. Technology did not replace human relationships, but complemented them. In the evening, I tried using a food delivery app. Ali showed me how to order food via smartphone. There was a huge variety of restaurants and menus. After placing the order, we could track the rider's location in real time. Within 30 minutes, hot food was delivered. Surprisingly, the delivery rider was very polite. Seeing that I was a foreigner, he smiled broadly, greeted me, and handed over the food. It wasn't just a food delivery. It was a display of true hospitality. From all these experiences, I understood the true meaning of technological development. On the 5th day, I had the opportunity to meet Ali's grandmother. Despite being in her 82nd, she used her smartphone with amazing skill. She told me she does her shopping online, books, hospital appointments, and even makes video calls with her grandchildren. This was a picture completely different from my own grandmother in South Korea. His grandmother said that it was difficult at first, but there were free smartphone usage courses in their community, so she learned. It's not that the elderly are left behind, but there is a system that helps everyone keep up with the times. It was very impressive. This is the image of a truly inclusive society, I thought. On public transport, there was a similar experience. Seeing a person in a wheelchair in the metro bus, several people naturally made way and offered help. No one ordered them to. Everyone did it as a matter of course. Seeing this, I felt the maturity of Pakistani society. We also had the opportunity to visit a hospital because Ali had symptoms of a cold. We went to the nearest clinic. The entire process, from registration to examination, was very systematic. The waiting time was not long, and the cost of treatment was reasonable. The doctor even showed interest in me as a foreigner and explained the healthcare system in Pakistan. At the pharmacy, too, was a pleasant experience. The pharmacist looked at the prescription and correctly dispensed the medicines. Of course, he explained in detail how to take them and even tried to explain in simple English. Such a considerate attitude made me feel grateful. That evening, Ali and I went for a walk along the promenade of Rawal Lake. Despite the late hour, there were many people exercising or relaxing. There were families, couples, and groups of friends, each spending their time in their own way. What's important is that everyone had a sense of safety and tranquility on their faces. The facilities organized on the promenade were also impressive. The cycling path was clearly separated from the pedestrian path. There were restrooms and other amenities. It seemed everything was designed for people's convenience. That evening, returning to the hotel, I pondered. In Pakistan, technology and human warmth are harmoniously combined. This is the image of a truly developed society. Just being economically rich or technologically advanced is not enough to be a truly developed country. I realized this. On the morning of the 6th day, the airline contacted us to say that the plane's repairs were complete and we could fly to India as originally planned. This should have been good news. But strangely, my friends and I felt a sense of confusion. The last few days in Pakistan had been so impressive that we wished we could stay here longer. The famous sights of India suddenly seemed less appealing than the undiscovered beauty we had found here. That day, we spent our last hours with Ali and his student friends. We met in a bustling market area and had a frank conversation about the cultures of Pakistan and South Korea. The initial awkwardness due to our differences had now been replaced by mutual understanding. The Pakistani students also showed great interest in Korean culture. They were interested not only in K-pop or Samsung but also in the daily life and education system in South Korea. Such mutual respect was very impressive. The atmosphere of this meeting was drastically different from the first day. The feeling of alienation due to cultural differences had now turned into a strong friendship. We sat in a circle in a traditional tea house, trying exquisite Pakistani chai with spices. The interior of the establishment combined modernity and tradition. On the walls hung prints by Pakistani artists, and classical Eastern music played quietly in the background. This calm atmosphere allowed us to talk even more deeply. Ali's friends showed great interest in Korean culture. They were interested in more than just what is known to the world. One of the students, A girl named Fatima asked me, "In South Korea, what do teenagers do for society?" This question made me think. Honestly, in South Korea, most teenagers are only interested in their own development and success. We rarely participate in community activities. Mostly, it's every person for themselves. But in Pakistan, I saw that the youth are very involved in the life of their society. They care about social issues like the environment and helping vulnerable groups. Another friend, named Bilal, asked, "What values do you consider most important?" Sumin answered on behalf of all of us. Before coming to Pakistan, we might have answered freedom and personal success. But now I think that caring for others and responsibility to society are just as important. This phrase expressed the feelings of all of us. What we had seen and heard over the past few days had truly changed our perspective on many things. The owner of the tea house, a man in his 60s, overheard our conversation and joined us. He said that Pakistan has developed to its current level not only through economic growth, but, more importantly, through the development of people's spirit. When everyone thinks of others, society as a whole becomes better, he said. The owner went on to talk about the history of changes in Pakistani society. We learned to value the freedom we gained, and we understood that freedom must go hand in hand with responsibility, he said. These words helped us understand Pakistani society more deeply. My Korean friends also began to share their feelings. A friend named Min Jun said, "What struck me most is that Pakistanis follow rules not because they are forced to, but willingly. They understand that these rules exist to make life better for everyone." Another friend, Hey Jin, added, "I think Pakistani education, at its best, is very successful. It is capable of raising citizens who can empathize with others." Suman shared that when she cried at Faisal Mosque, it wasn't just because of the cleanliness, but out of admiration that everyone was trying to preserve that beauty. She described her feelings in detail. "In many busy cities, we get used to a certain level of mess and consider it normal. But here, I saw how people voluntarily take care of public spaces. No one is monitoring them. This is true love for a shared home." Listening to my friends, I reflected on my own changes. A few days ago, I might have found standing in line or sorting trash tedious. But now I understand that these small actions reflect the level of a society's civility. When everyone makes a small effort, you can create an environment that benefits everyone. Our Pakistani friends also frankly shared their views on their own society. Ali said, "Pakistan isn't perfect either. We have many problems to solve, but we have a common understanding that we must make society better." Fatima added, "We were taught from childhood to have a social conscience, but it's not a burden, it's an honor. Contributing to society is very meaningful." The atmosphere of this mutually respectful dialogue impressed me greatly. In South Korea, there is often a lack of such sincere exchange of views between different groups of people. Everyone is used to living in their own circle, but in Pakistan, I felt a culture of openness and acceptance of differences. People are ready to listen to different opinions and learn from others. In the evening, we moved to a modern food court nearby. Islamabad's food courts are full of life. Rows of diverse cuisines, crowds of people, but without the chaos. We tried many street food dishes from Pakistan and the wider region: biryani, kebabs, pulao. Each dish has its own taste and history. The vendors, seeing we were foreigners, enthusiastically recommended their dishes. Some even tried to speak to us in simple English or Korean. This friendliness created a special warmth. Over food, we continued our deep cultural exchange. One of the Pakistani friends asked us, "When you return to South Korea, what will you want to change?" This question made all of us think. I replied, "I want to bring back the civic consciousness I learned in Pakistan. I may not be able to change the whole society, but at least I can start with myself and influence those around me." Sumin said, "I want to promote environmental education in our school, so my friends understand the importance of sorting trash and protecting the environment." Minjun said, "I want to participate more in volunteer activities to help those in need." Hearing our thoughts, our Pakistani friends supported and encouraged us. Ali said. Change doesn't happen overnight. But if someone starts acting, it will cause a chain reaction. After the food court, we went for a walk near the Margala Hills. The view of Islamabad at night was breathtakingly beautiful. The city lights sparkled below. A light, cool breeze was blowing. Despite the late hour, there were still people hiking and relaxing on the trails. Everyone looked safe and relaxed. We sat on a bench overlooking the city, sharing stories from our lives. Ali told us his dream is to become a teacher, to educate more students with an international perspective. Fatima wanted to work in the environmental sector to help Pakistan develop sustainably. Listening to the dreams of these young Pakistanis, I was impressed by their sense of purpose. They were interested not only in personal success, but also in how they could help society and the future of humanity. Such a broad perspective was something I rarely encountered among my peers in South Korea. At that moment, I suddenly understood the real strength of Pakistani society. It's not in its developing economy or advanced technology, but in the fact that people here strive to make the world a better place. When the youth in a society have such dreams, that society is destined for further development. As the night grew deep, we had to say our goodbyes. Although we had only been together for a few days, we had formed a strong friendship. We exchanged contact information and promised to stay in touch, to continue learning from each other. On the way, as Ali walked us back to our hotel, I looked back at the nightscape of Islamabad. I had mixed feelings. Tomorrow we would have to leave this place that had changed our outlook on life and head to our original destination, India. But I knew that Pakistan had planted a seed in our hearts. This seed would follow us to South Korea and grow in our lives. It would remind us of what values are truly worth seeking, what a truly meaningful life is. Pakistan taught us not only about external politeness and order, but also about internal kindness and responsibility. This is the most valuable thing in our lives. 6 months later, I applied for a student exchange program at Quaid-i-Azam University in Islamabad. Although my Urdu proficiency was still basic, I was confident that my enthusiasm would be enough. Fortunately, I was selected and was able to return to Pakistan. The feeling of excitement when I arrived at Islamabad International Airport again a year later is impossible to describe in words. This time, I was not just a tourist but a student, which allowed me to understand and experience Pakistani society more deeply. Ali met me at the airport. The joy of seeing each other after a year's separation was immense, but when he heard me greet him in Urdu, he was very surprised. Life at the university became another continuous learning process. Studying and working on projects with Pakistani students allowed me to directly experience the excellence of their education system. Moreover, through participation in various clubs, I learned what Pakistani youth think about and how they live. Now, looking back, that emergency landing at Islamabad International Airport was the most important moment that changed my life. Through a country called Pakistan, I learned what it means to be a truly developed nation and understood what kind of person I want to become in the future. And most importantly, my view of the world has expanded. This is the greatest gain. Now I have a dream. After returning to South Korea, I want to use what I learned in Pakistan for the benefit of my country's development. One day, I want to become a bridge between Pakistan and South Korea. And the beginning of all this was that unexpected emergency landing. What I discovered in Pakistan was not just clean streets or advanced technology. What was truly impressive was the caring spirit of the people and a civic consciousness focused on the common good. This is not something imposed by laws or rules, but a culture that people follow voluntarily. The experience in Pakistan made me realize that true development is not when buildings get taller or technology more advanced, but when people's souls become richer and society becomes warmer. Now I want to be a person who can spread such a culture in South Korea. Although I still have much to learn, I believe that the journey that began with that unexpected landing will continue. During my exchange studies in Pakistan, I had the opportunity to explore different regions of the country more deeply. Each journey brought me closer to this land. For our first major trip, We chose Lahore, the city known as the cultural capital of Pakistan. We took a comfortable train from Islamabad, and in just a few hours, we arrived in Lahore. The punctuality and comfort of the train impressed me. Such transport efficiency was a pleasant surprise. Upon arriving in Lahore, I immediately felt a completely different atmosphere from Islamabad. If Islamabad is a modern, planned metropolis, then Lahore is an ancient city full of historical charm. The narrow streets of the old city, the magnificent mosques, the Mughal architecture, everything told the story of a rich history. We stayed in a small guest house in the walled city. The owner, a Lahori in his 60s, was a fantastic storyteller, enthusiastically explaining the origin and features of each landmark. Lahore is the heart of Pakistan. Our imperial culture is best preserved here, he would say with pride. At the Badshahi Mosque and Lahore Fort, we learned about the grandeur of the Mughal Empire. But what impressed me most was the importance placed on preserving culture. Whether it be traditional crafts, ancient architecture, or customs, everything is carefully preserved and passed down from generation to generation. We visited an old food street that had been running for generations. The third-generation owner told us, although modern machines can increase efficiency, we still adhere to traditional methods because only then can you preserve the authentic taste. This dedication and respect for tradition deeply moved me. In South Korea, many traditional cultures are gradually disappearing under the pressure of modernity, but Pakistanis have found a balance between tradition and modernity. Our next destination was the Hunza Valley, the jewel of the north. If Lahore represents tradition, then Hunza demonstrates success in adapting to modernity while living in harmony with nature. The majestic peaks, turquoise lakes, and modern infrastructure like the Karakoram Highway all spoke of the resilience and beauty of this region. But what impressed me most was the success in environmental conservation. We walked along the shores of Islamabad Lake and met a retired teacher. He told us about the community's transformation. 20 years ago, it was very different here. Now look at this beauty. This is the pride of us Hunza people. The success in environmental conservation showed me Pakistan's determination and achievements in sustainable development. In South Korea, many areas face environmental pollution issues. The experience of Hunza is worth studying. The third station was to simply experience the pristine nature of the northern areas, a gateway to the heavens. From Islamabad, we flew to Skardu. From there, by jeep, we ventured into the mountains. The experience of the north is, above all, the raw beauty of nature. The purity of the air, the clarity of the rivers, the vast expanses, it was all breathtaking. But more importantly, I felt the importance of preserving nature. We participated in a cleanup drive near a popular tourist spot with a local environmental group. Seeing the impact of tourism, I keenly felt the urgency of environmental protection. A local guide told us, "These mountains are sacred to us. Protecting them means protecting our future." This activity helped me better understand that environmental protection is not only the government's responsibility, but requires everyone's participation. In the north, we also had the opportunity to experience the lifestyle of the local people. They live in harmony with nature and possess the wisdom of sustainable living. Their life philosophy inspired me. In the rush of modernity, we often forget our connection with nature, but these people reminded us of the importance of this connection. Each journey deepened my understanding of and affection for Pakistan. This country, though vast, is striking in its cultural diversity and richness. From the plains of Punjab to the peaks of the Karakoram, all cultural elements coexist harmoniously on Pakistani soil. And most importantly, Pakistanis know how to preserve traditions while developing and creating new things without losing their roots. This cultural wisdom is worth learning from. When the exchange program ended and I returned to South Korea, I was a completely different person. Not only had my language skills improved, but more importantly, my way of thinking had changed. I learned to look at problems from different perspectives and to appreciate cultural differences. Back in South Korea, I began to actively participate in community life. I founded a Pakistani culture club at my university to introduce others to the beauty of Pakistan. I started participating in projects to improve the quality of education in South Korea, hoping to apply the educational concepts I learned in Pakistan, especially methods for fostering social responsibility and environmental awareness in students. My friendship with Ali continues. We started planning a youth exchange project between our countries, hoping that more young South Koreans could experience Pakistani culture and invite Pakistani students to South Korea for mutual cultural learning. At home in Seoul, I started to apply the lifestyle I learned in Pakistan. I participate in environmental campaigns in my neighborhood, maintain order in public places, and help those in need. Although these are small changes, I believe they can cause a chain reaction. Seeing my changes, my family and friends also became interested in Pakistan. They wanted to know how this distant country had changed me so much. Through my stories, many became interested in Pakistan. Some friends have even started planning a trip or to study there. I am now preparing for my master's degree application in Pakistan. I hope to study even more deeply and, in the future, contribute to the development of relations between our countries. That unexpected emergency landing truly changed the course of my life. If it weren't for that experience, I would never have known such a beautiful country as Pakistan and would not have received these priceless life lessons. The most important thing Pakistan taught me is that true progress comes from spiritual growth, not external wealth, but inner fulfillment is what matters. When you think of others, think of society, it becomes better. This principle applies not only to Pakistan but to the whole world. Now I have a dream. In the future, I want to become a cultural ambassador connecting Pakistan and South Korea so that the peoples of both countries can understand each other more deeply, promoting cooperation in education, culture, and youth exchanges. And the starting point of this dream was that emergency landing at Islamabad International Airport. Sometimes the best things in life come from unexpected opportunities. That emergency landing seemed like a misfortune, but for me, it was the greatest stroke of luck. It helped me discover a new world and a new self. This beautiful country gave me not only knowledge and skills, but, more importantly, a dream and hope. It made me believe that through effort and sincerity, we can make the world a better place. Now, looking back, on that first night at Islamabad International Airport, I was lying in the hotel in the blue area and didn't know what would come next. At that time, I couldn't have imagined that just a few days of experience would so profoundly change my life. The gift that Pakistan gave me is not just good memories, but a new outlook on life and new values. I am now proud to be a friend of the Pakistani people and hope that in the future, I can contribute to the friendship between our countries on this land. That unexpected landing was the most important turning point in my life. Thank you, Pakistan. Thank you to the hospitable Pakistani people. Thank you to Ali and everyone who extended a helping hand to me. This story continues. My journey in Pakistan is not over. It will continue throughout my life and will be the driving force leading me forward. That's all for today. What did you think of the story of the South Korean student who discovered an advanced culture thanks to an emergency landing in Pakistan during a trip to India? Please leave your comments to support the protagonist of this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.